have been also one of the ministerial leads when it comes to the government's agenda to address the cost of living. The Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, a Liberal, Andrew Furey, is now today calling on your government to pause the increase to the carbon tax slated for April the 1st. Will you consider that?
Listen, I like Premier Furey. I've known him for a long time, but I think we have been very clear that a price on pollution is the right thing to do. It brings more money in the pocket of Canadians. That vision, that approach has been clear from the start. The Prime Minister has been clear. I hear his voice, but I think that, you know, we have a plan to fight climate change. We have been clear with Canadians all along. And honestly, I think that Canadians understand that. The plan is working. It's going to bring more money in the pockets of Canadians. And we're going to continue to do that because, you know what? This is an investment in the future. This is an investment that has allowed us also to attract investment in Canada because people see these Canadians are serious about fighting climate change. So I would be happy to engage with Premier Furey. I'll see him soon. But I can tell you we're going to continue to do what's right for the country, not only now, but for the future.
Let's look if Canadians are better off. That means they get more money back from the carbon tax or not. This is the document we will look at. Now, all this document, and every province is different, but this is Ontario. So this is the amount of money you pay for the carbon tax per province. These quintiles are all by province in ranges. Let's look at those. So for Ontario, quintile 1, under $40,000. And in Ontario, that is not livable considering the house prices are to save up. So quintile 2 is under 75,000. Quintile 3, as you can see, goes on. So from this one, you would say that Newfoundland is the 32,000, and maybe it has to do with cost of living, etc. Let's now look at that detail of it. The first part is the climate tax that you get paid. The second is the net cost. See that minus 298? That's the check you get back. And on average in Ontario, it's minus, well, $100 on average, a little bit better off. And it continues to, you can see here the years, and I'm not going to go to 2030, but it's $200. So it goes from $100 more money per year to $300. Now, that net impact, you see it's fiscal impact only. That means net cost calculated as federal. You can read that there. Gross cost. Now, there's another part of that, and I think that Philippe Champagne guy is using this calculation because there is one underneath here. He's not looking at net cost, fiscal, and economic impacts. This is the total. This is the one that everyone is feeling, in my opinion, and he should be using. And he should clarify in his net cost fiscal, it's not the economic impact. And I believe there's a bit more to this too. This is the one that is calculated differently and calculates based on your personal income tax. Like at the end of the day, this is the bottom line. This is what you get. So $241 for people that make under, what did I say, 50, what did I pick here? $40,000 in Ontario. That's what this range is. 300, etc. So for Ontario, about $500 cost per family. At the end of the day, net cost, fiscal, economic impact. That is what he is not saying. He is picking the red one. Let's put them side by side here to compare. This is just for Ontario. He is looking at, when he says Canadians are better off, and Stephen Guilbeault and Trudeau, they all use the net cost, fiscal impact only, not fiscal and economic impact. And I think I ran this through ChatGPT to tell me, you know what, which one is better to be unbiased? And it is saying too, considering both fiscal and economic impacts provides the most comprehensive and realistic perspective. This would mean bottom line, it costs more and they should be looking at that one. So they are deliberately looking at the other one that is not total. And this is a great way to like screw over, because that's the narrative that you're getting more back, but it's not the bottom line. And that's what they always do. I'm going to do a separate video on that too to highlight this further. Let's continue with the video.
Minister, though, the Premier's point is that he is not, like you characterize many of your opponents on the carbon tax, against the issue of mitigating climate change, that he takes it very seriously. But at the same time, people in Newfoundland and Labrador and many of the other provinces in which this carbon tax applies are dealing with a high rate of inflation, high interest rates, and he's simply asking your government to pause the increase until interest rates go down and inflation stabilizes. Why won't you at least consider that? Are you so ideologically wedded to it that you can't listen to the premiers who are saying it is adding to the burden of the cost of living for the people who live in their provinces?
Listen, I understand the issue around cost of living, Vashi. I've been the one with colleagues who have been fighting all along to make sure that life is more affordable for Canadians. I took on, for example, the grocery sector and the big chains to make sure that people can afford grocery. I keep on that fight. I'm going to even bring that at the G7 meeting that I'm going this evening to make sure that we start seeing competition issues, making sure that life is more affordable. I get that. You know, I come from rural Canada. I know that people talk to me. But at the same time, people that I meet in the street understand that we need also to be fighting climate change, that the price on pollution is the best way. It's been tested to make sure that, we have the right framework to make sure that we drive the right behavior, but at the same time that we send the money back in the pocket of Canadians. So this is a system that it's working, and Canadians understand that.
So that's a no. He will not consider it. So the impact of the carbon tax, how much greenhouse gases is it lowering? They don't know. They won't tell you. They never put that in the calculation because they can't. And it will go up, obviously, with 1.3 million people coming in. He said, Philippe Champagne here, food prices, he's helped reduce it. You tell me, has it been reduced? Because I think that is a big no. You know, you can look into it and pretend that you're doing something, but in my opinion, none of it has gone down at all. None of it. He is an elite, out of touch, and has no idea what he is going through. Let's continue.
Respectfully, Minister, do Canadians actually see that it's working? The Auditor General pointed out that your government has not attached a specific emissions reductions target to the price on carbon, that you have not produced evidence. The NDP Premier of Manitoba said the same thing. The people associated with the provincial NDP in both Saskatchewan and Alberta have raised the same concerns. Now your Liberal colleague is also calling into a question exactly what you're trying to argue. Even the Parliamentary Budget Officer has said when you take into account all the indirect costs, slightly more Canadians are worse off than better off because of the carbon tax. Again, why are you so ideologically wedded to it that you can't just wait until inflation stabilizes and press pause for a moment?
Listen, it's not about ideology. It's about the planet. Vashi, I'd say that the fact that we have a plan to fight climate change has brought billions of investment in this country. People understand, we set ourselves to be the green supply of choice to the world, whether it's green aluminum, green steel, green batteries, green semiconductor. That's what we're known for. This has attracted investment and make sure that, we position Canada as a leader in the world. And decarbonizing industries is a trend. Look in Alberta. We have Heidelberg, for example. We're going to have the first green cement plant in the world. Dow Chemical decided to put their plant in Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. Why? Because they want to have the greenest polyethylene plant in the world. So that system is working. It's bringing money in the pockets of Canadians. And I think the vast majority of Canadians agree that we need to keep on and fighting climate change. It's the right thing to do for the planet. It's the right thing to do for our kids. And we can do it in a sensible way, making sure that we drive the right behavior that gives money back in the pockets of Canadians. I respect my colleagues. I talk with all the premiers in Canada, for sure. But at the same time, we need to make sure that we take the right decision for now, but also for the future of this nation.
Just very quickly, Minister, you're standing in Washington, D.C. Your government has hailed the climate policy of this White House administration as incredibly serious. It is also attracting the investment that you talk about, and it is doing so without a consumer carbon tax. Again, why not consider?
Well, I would say what has been attracting investment in Canada is the talent of our people. It's the ecosystem we have, whether it's the aerospace industry, in the natural resources. And I was just in Calgary a few days ago. It's the critical minerals we have and the proximity.
Yeah, he just keeps going on. And the attracting to Canada, when America starts doing that and they have better inflation, better housing, all of a sudden this talent that he's talking about in Canada will just leave. Why wouldn't they? If it's 50% less, they would leave Canada. And him bragging about the investment in Canada, you know, it's the access to America, that Canada is on the border of America, which attracts people. It's not that the aluminum in Canada, and the aluminum is just in Alberta, in Quebec, where he is, because that's all he cares about, his province of Quebec. It's all in Quebec, all that aluminum. So it's actually false to say that. I think the Liberals just have to keep pushing it. Say it again, and they will totally believe it. That's not Catherine McKenna. That's all they're doing. They're just stalling time, pushing it out as long as they can. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. Their filet champagne here. And I was going to make a separate video to clear up that carbon that he's saying more people are getting it back, because that's false.